Ok, j'avais le micro de coupé. Et j'étais en train de parler comme un con. Donc, on se retrouve sur The Stanley Parable. Un jeu auquel j'ai jamais joué et que je vais tester en streaming. Et si la vidéo n'est pas complètement buggée, je la mettrai sur YouTube. Voilà. Voilà. Alors déjà, c'est sympa dans le menu. On voit déjà... comment ça s'appelle ça? Je sais plus comment ça s'appelle. Mais dans l'écran d'ordinateur, on se voit en train de... On voit le même menu qu'on voit là, tout simplement. Et dans l'écran d'ordinateur, il y a un autre ordinateur qu'on voit l'écran, etc. Quand il y a un autre ordinateur qu'on voit l'écran. Mais je sais plus comment ça s'appelle, ce putain d'effet d'optique. Bref, est-ce qu'on va baisser l'audio? Parce que je ne sais pas si on va m'entendre. Si je ne crie pas. Et comme des fois je crie pas, volume principal. Attends, je vais mettre à fond, je vais voir ce que ça donne. Deux enceintes, oh désactivé, gna. Sous-titres désactivés. J'espère que c'est en français. Alors. Bon, je pense pas que ça va parler des masses, hein. Je vais mettre, hop, tant pis. De toute façon, on pourra baisser un jeu. Volume de musique, deux enceintes, qualité sonore. Sous-titres, on va désactiver. Attends, dialogue plus bruitage. Bon, le dialogue plus bruitage. Je sais pas si c'est si ça parle en français, je pense pas du tout. Je pense plutôt que le texte est en français mais que ça parle en anglais. Alors comme ça, hop, c'est bon, les sous-titres sont ok. On changera l'audio aussi ça, si ça correspond pas. Si je me dis que c'est trop fort, bah, je mettrai moins fort. Hop. Retour. Commencer le jeu. Hop. C'est parti, on commence. Ah, voyons voir ce jeu magnifique.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ouais, c'est en anglais.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
D'accord. Et c'est là que j'entre en jeu. J'ai vu des petits sauts. Mais ça a l'air pas mal quoi. Wow, il se déplace vite. Bip bip. Super Stanley. Alors, je n'ai pas reçu d'ordre. Et il est... Oh, l'heure tourne. Putain, c'est rare dans les jeux. Ah, c'est fou ça. Il est donc 11h25, 24. On va dire ça. Alors, je suis l'employé 427. Ok. Je ne sais pas je ne sais pas s'il y a des touches spéciales. Ça n'a pas l'air. Je pense qu'on me dira quand je devrais appuyer sur quelque chose. Donc je sors de mon petit bureau. Oh là, 428 à côté. Là c'est le 429. Ah, ils ont des... moi j'étais enfermé, personne ne pouvait me voir. Alors que le 429, il est visible. 428 non plus. Ah,
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hey, peut-être pas reçu de note de service et je suis allé dans le bureau sans regarder.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Attends, sous le bureau? Non, non, y a personne. Merde alors. Ils ont des bureaux étranges. Oh, un écran d'allumé. Je peux pas zoomer? Non, rien, rien. Ah, c'est un taille-crayon électrique. C'est magnifique ça. J'ai toujours rêvé d'en avoir un. Alors, 436. Ah, mais je suis vraiment bien moi dans mon bureau. Parce que là, ils ont des tout petits bureaux. Moi, j'avais un grand bureau. Bref, alors, la note de service. Que je n'ai peut-être pas vue. On peut ouvrir les portes? Ah! Ah, il y a des interactions possibles. Je vais arriver à clencher. Ouais, ça ne clenche pas. Ça ne clenche pas. Ah, ça ne clenche plus.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Je sais que l'histoire n'avance pas, gros con. J'essaye juste d'ouvrir les portes, ça marche pas. Putain, le jeu qui me... Par contre, ça saute, hein. Je sais pas si c'est à cause du stream. Ça m'énerve de pas pouvoir zoomer, je vois pas... Ah, on peut se baisser. Quand j'appuie sur X, je tape sur un clavier. C'est énorme. Ouais, je travaille. Bon, j'ai fini de faire des trucs qui servent à rien. Bien. Là, je planche. Non, il n'y a rien par là. Note de service par ici. Ça nous met... Oh. Il y avait des zombies, ils se sont enfuis par là.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Quand Stanley arriva dans 2 portes ouvertes, il prit celle de gauche, mais j'ai le choix. Alors je peux soit choisir de suivre l'histoire, soit de pas suivre l'histoire. On va voir ce que ça donne de suivre l'histoire. La porte se referme. Waouh. Est-ce que l'heure a avancé? Ah oui, l'heure avance. Putain, c'est énorme. Franchement, rien que pour ça, ce jeu est magique. Une horloge qui fonctionne dans un jeu. Wow.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ah, je vais aller voir le patron, ça veut dire quoi de pas avoir de boulot? C'est pas bien ça. Je suis pas du genre à rien foutre moi. Alors, il faut du dollar. Voilà. Oula! L'entreprise est en chute libre. Oula là. Forcément, à taper sur des touches, ça fait pas trop avancer. Waouh! Elle est où mon ombre sur le rétroprojecteur là? Encore. Profit, allez, on a compris hein. Monnaie, more money. Things but with money to buy more things. Graphs. Graph about things and money. On a besoin d'argent. C'est marrant. Monétise free to play. Ah putain. Hey, je suis enfermé. C'est quoi ça le broom closet? Je me retrouve enfermé.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
C'est pas un placard à balai, ça. C'est une salle à tout faire.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Et je vais voir le patron. C'est pas là. On va suivre l'histoire, on va aller voir le patron. Executive bathroom. Pourquoi je peux passer là? On pirate. Ah, ça marche plus. Je peux plus taper sur le clavier. Bon, tant pis. Ah, c'est moi le patron.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Deux petites secondes, c'est le boulot.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ouais, ta gueule. Je suis pas censé le savoir, pourquoi t'arrêtes pas de me le répéter? 2845, c'est ça? Alors.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Hein? Ah, j'étais... Oh! Ah oui, j'ai débloqué ça. Oh mon dieu! Mais le patron, qu'est-ce qu'il cache? Je pensais que c'était un petit coffre fort. Mais non. Ça y est, je suis définitivement sorti des bureaux. J'ai pas une lampe torche là, ça commence à faire peur. Oh mon dieu. Qu'est-ce qui va se passer? Oh! C'est un jeu d'horreur? Non. L'eau à dingue. L'eau à dingue, l'eau à dingue, l'eau à dingue.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself.
Oh mon dieu, je pense par moi-même. C'est la première fois de ma vie.
Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
J'ai pas de lampe torche. J'y vois un petit peu rien du tout.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Sortie. Ah, j'ai envie de découvrir, je vais pas aller vers la sortie. Oh, on dirait dans X-Men.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ah, je veux découvrir. Je veux en savoir plus. Je viens d'apprendre que je pouvais penser par moi-même. Il faut que je sache. savent pas ranger leur bureau par contre.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe dans celui-là? Moi je suis de 200 combien? Oh, celui-là là-bas il bug. 200... Ah, je me souviens plus. 427. Ah, je sais plus. Je sais plus. C'est dans quel bureau? 427 je crois. C'est celui-là. Employé 427. J'espère que c'est ça. On va voir. Est-ce que je reconnais le bureau? Ouais, c'est le mien. C'est ça? Ça a l'air. Ça a l'air un peu. Et l'employé numéro 1, il est où? Enfin, c'est tellement classe.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Mais non, t'avais juste besoin d'argent.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content.
Ah merde.
Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Je vais tout détruire. Ouais. Je ne sais pas comment je vais faire, mais je vais tout détruire. Par contre, j'y vois juste plus rien. Je vais voir si je peux pas. Tout. Éteins la lumière. Tant pis, on va voir. Est-ce que j'y vois mieux? J'y vois pas mieux. J'y vois pas mieux, c'est de la merde. Non, j'ai juste plus mal aux yeux maintenant. Tant pis. Yep. Si, j'y voyais mieux, parce que maintenant je me vois dans la télé. Ah, mais c'est terrible, hein. Ça va pas faire. Non, mais il y a les fenêtres qui est ouverte, qui est allumée là-bas. Qui est allumée, la fenêtre qui est allumée. La fenêtre qui est ouverte. Ouais, en fait, c'est un peu mieux comme ça. Bon, moi, je dois détruire quoi là, hein? Tu veux bien me dire? Tu me dis, il faut que je détruise, hein, mais je veux bien. Mais... Hop. Non? Non, c'est pas ça. Ouh. Quelle est cette chose? Putain, on voit que dalle. Je fais de la musique, hein, c'est tout ce que j'ai l'impression de faire. D'accord. Ah! Un bouton rouge! Non, ça marche pas. Putain! Vas-y, mais ne me donne plus d'instructions surtout. Merde, c'est vrai, j'ai voulu me libérer du jeu. Mind control idle. Waiting. On va aller là alors. Attends, j'appuie là, vite fait. Ça fait rien. Salut, sale bizarre. Je me regarde un petit
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Non, je suis dans le noir. Ah putain.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine! Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Ça me paraît un peu trop idyllique là. C'est un écran. C'était un écran tout à l'heure. C'est à nouveau un écran. Ah non.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Sérieux? Beat the game? Succès déverrouillé? C'est chelou comme jeu! Il doit bien y avoir plein d'autres choses à faire. J'ai vu plein d'autres issues, plein d'autres choix. Ah, faut le refaire. C'est pas long. C'est pas long, faut le refaire. Oui. Ce loading qui est extrêmement long. Et je recommence. Direct comme ça. Ça marche. Allez, c'est parti. Hop.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Je vais peut-être trouver une note de service dans la salle de réunion. Pourquoi
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
On va faire logique, on va prendre le gauche encore. Ouais. Pour l'instant on se dit, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Faut que j'aille en salle de réunion. Ah bah merde, y'a
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Non, y a pas de
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Je comprends plus là.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Quoi?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Comment ça se fait que le patron...
What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation.
C'est trop de combinaisons, j'ai
But
aucune
his
idée
attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose
Ah bah si, en
be?
fait je vais avoir l'idée parce que je peux pas
In
arriver en
fact,
arrière.
this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet.
Alors
And
le
so the
code,
boss had
ce
assigned
serait
it
bien
an
le...
extra secret pin number.
le 28.
2845.
Hop.
But of course,
Je suis né
Stanley
le
couldn't
28
possibly have
juin.
known this.
Hop, on va dire. Et 45 parce que c'est la fin de la guerre. Voilà.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the
Ça a
keypad,
marché.
Stanley happened to
Mais j'ai vraiment
input
de la
the
chance.
correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Waouh. Mais que cache? Quel terrible secret cache mon patron? Je me le demande. Oh, un ascenseur qui descend. Descend donc. On va aller dans la machin corporation là. Umbrella. Je sens que je suis dans l'Umbrella Corporation.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Mais un message avec sortie. Ça doit être un employé qui a réussi à s'enfuir et qui a laissé un message pour ceux qui restent. C'est écrit en rouge, ça veut dire que c'est pas écrit en lettres de sang, c'est écrit plutôt à la craie. Ça veut dire qu'il faut pas aller par là, il faut s'échapper. On va écouter. On va s'échapper.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent
Mort
death.
violente. Allez, moi j'ai pas peur, je peux pas mourir.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Je peux pas mourir.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Troll, je peux pas mourir. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Ouais, mais par contre... Bah mais c'est logique. Si tu me fais tomber dans un trou de 30 mètres, évidemment que je meurs. Y'a aucune... C'est débile. Ah non. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Je peux voir?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is.
Ah, je vais pouvoir passer.
Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Mais non. Ah mais c'est terrible en fait. Il est complètement... Ah oui. Oui.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Non. J'ai arrêté
In
le
a
temps.
single visceral
Je peux
instant,
m'enfuir.
Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed
Non.
every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Non. Ah oui. Allez. Allez, comment je t'ébête là? La machine. Tu reprends vie ou... Par où je dois aller? Là il y a des cartons. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé avec la machine? The Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Je sais pas ce qu'il pensait accomplir. C'est énorme. Wow.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
Tout à fait d'accord.
Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Bah non, parce que c'est moi qui ai choisi tout à l'heure, j'étais en vie. Ah, je suis dans mon bureau là maintenant. Et il a changé. Nature painting. Ah, ça c'est intéressant. Ah ouais, là c'est mon bureau. Office layout. Blueprint. Shows the office from du début de la partie. Ouais. Là c'est sûr, ça mène à rien. Tac tac. Ah, c'est le chemin que j'ai fait là par contre que ça me montre, je pense. Non? Ah bah non, parce que hop. C'est pas le bureau du patron ça? Corridor. Non, ça c'est la salle de réunion. The two doors. Ah non, c'est la salle avec les deux portes. Ah, et ça me dit pas après. Ça me dit pas la suite. The office. Oh, rien de tout. Button soon. J'ai à moitié l'impression de jouer à le bureau 3D là, Office Computer. C'est tout leur modèle. Boss Office. Office Clock. L'heure. On va voir par là. Freedom Ending. On voit les différentes fins peut-être. Ça mène où ça? Oh. Oh. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé là? On est perdu. Monitor room elevator. Condon room. Ah, c'est quoi ça? Zending. C'est pas la ending, c'est la zending. Ouais. Zending lever. Oh. Failure. En mai 2012. C'est le trailer. Ah, c'est ça le trailer de mai 2012. Waouh, il était énorme. Le jeu est maintenant en pause. Begin the game, resume the game. D'accord. Y a-t-il une sortie? Meeting room. Maintenance. Ah, les options. Obey, staircase. Disobey. Lounge. Maintenance. The other entrance. Vent. Il y a du vent là. Et là. Doorway to entrance. Maintenance les youths. On arrive dans la salle de maintenance si on n'obéit pas. Apartment timer. Je suis un peu perdu. Je comprends pas trop le principe là. Si, je comprends parce que c'est marrant, ils affichent tout. C'est vachement bien foutu. Mais là, c'est que dois-je faire? 427, c'était ça que j'ai regardé tout à l'heure? C'était le 427, ouais. Ah non, il y a bien une vitre, putain. Tout est préfabriqué. Bon allez. C'est quoi cette fin? Je suis mort ou... Je suis dans les coulisses là, c'est ça? Ah, c'est par là à la fin. Ah, on va y aller après. Attends, on n'a pas tout vu là. Je voulais me barrer, puis là, au moment où je peux me barrer... Ah non, non, pas tout vu. Attends. Par contre, c'est dommage qu'on puisse pas courir. Au début, je trouvais qu'il allait vite, mais c'est tellement grand que ça va pas si vite. Ah, narrateur? C'est où, narrateur? Voilà. Narrateur, il est dans ma tête. C'est pas là qu'on n'était pas allé. Ça ressemble un peu à Matrix. C'est quoi ça? Ah, les crédits. imprimante. Alors... More ending, fever ending, more narrators, fever narrators, more Stanley, less Stanley. Ah, ça me remet là? C'est quoi ça? Oh! Il y a un squelette dans moi, oui je sais que j'ai un squelette. Narrateur email. Playing jouer à Stanley Parable, ça m'aide à avoir des amis. Bon c'est chiant. Ça ne mène à rien. Ouais, hop, bah, on était venu là. Donc on se dirige vers la sortie pour explorer une autre fin. Oh tiens. Ah on peut pas y aller. Chier. Allez hop. On va choisir la porte de droite.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Ah non, c'était pas la sortie.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another?
Le on et l'off, oui, je sais.
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be
seen. Ah d'accord. Oui, là je les vois plus, il fait noir. Ça tremble.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now. It'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
Ah,
Don't let time.
Ah, ça fait du bien. Tu vois qu'il y a un autre moyen de finir ce jeu. Moi je veux pas appuyer sur échappe. Non. T'es vraiment en train de me troller là? D'accord. Le jeu veut pas se finir. Donc il faut vraiment appuyer sur échappe, c'est ça? Hop. Je suis obligé de recommencer comme ça. Terrible ça. Recommencer à nouveau. Très bien. On va recommencer à nouveau. D'une façon différente. Là, je suis mort et j'ai pu appuyer quand même sur l'échappe.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Y'a plus personne, ouais, je peux enfin m'enfuir.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Ouais, on va pas rester là 30 ans non plus.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh, quel entrepôt gigantesque. Stanley se suicida. Non. Do not jump from the cargo will cause death. Penalty for jumping of the cargo lift, $5000. Moi j'ai bien envie de... Ah!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Merci, narrateur. Comme ça, on peut
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply...
J'ai l'impression de jouer à un livre dont on est le héros et de faire les mauvais choix et de mourir.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Alors.
Wow, yes, this room. What but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Stanley traversait la première porte à gauche. Hop, je l'ai traversée.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
For her? C'est qui elle?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Qui ça qui m'a attendu? C'est ma patronne en fait? Voilà, il fait noir là-dedans. Y a pas d'autre... Putain. Qui c'est que je m'en vais?
That's her, Stanley.
Mais je suis vraiment dans la
You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone?
J'ai pu le débrancher.
That wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back sack and..."
Quoi? Et mais il n'y avait pas de sous-titres aussi, hein. T'aurais pu mettre des sous-titres là, parce que je comprenais rien.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day.
Prendre au moins 8
Do
choix
you
par
make
jour.
more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Whoa! Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Ah. Sympa. Tu rebranches peut-être? Il n'y a plus de prise. D'accord. Qu'est-ce qui se passe là? Je reviens là.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Pas juste là. Je voulais sauter moi. Putain. Fais yesh. Eh, je peux sauter là. Non, je peux. Non! Ils sont tout cassés. Ils ont cassé mon jeu. Ils ont pensé à fermer toutes les portes. Je veux pas revenir dans mon bureau.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Merci.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Ah oui, ça va. Waouh, c'est bien le bordel. C'est bien le bordel. Bah ouais, mais là, évidemment que je vais retourner dans la salle de droite, y a rien à faire. Dans la salle de gauche, y a rien à faire. Dans la salle de droite. Je peux pas retourner en arrière. Non. Bon, bah j'y vais, détends-toi. Détends-toi, détends-toi. Les portes ne s'ouvrent pas.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe after everything we talked about that my story, you've destroyed my
Fallait
work.
me laisser continuer dans la voie que je voulais.
For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone? Left here like so much garbage. It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. Reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do?
Improvise,
no, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to.
Improvise.
I have to.
Non. Quand t'as raté un jeu, ça fait ça.
I'm here. I'm still here. here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child.
Oh, l'insulte!
Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. His behavior.
Waouh! Mais le jeu est cassé là. Tu l'as cassé tout seul là, ton jeu.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Quand je la traverse, je la vois pas, gros con. Putain. Ah là 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 là. Bon, il faut faire le échappe. Le célèbre échappe. Recommencer à nouveau. Hop. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres trucs que je peux faire? Tiens. Il n'y avait pas de téléphone qui sonnait tout à l'heure. Mais pourquoi il parle plus?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art.
Je commence à...
Eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
J'avais envie d'essayer un truc tout à l'heure, c'est...
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten. What? Really?
Yeah.
I was in the middle of something. Do you have 0 consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a
Vas-y, montre-moi que t'es de mon côté alors que tout à l'heure t'as détruit ton propre jeu parce que tu voulais plus que j'avance. Il suffisait d'enlever les tables. T'aurais enlevé les tables, j'aurais continué d'avancer, même si le jeu était un peu bugué.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Stanley traversa la porte bleue.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Je suis daltonien.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
C'est là?
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well,
t'avais qu'à la fermer comme tes autres portes, c'est gros con.
You see? There's nothing here.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures.
Ah bah voilà,
Is
tu me
this
dis
what
que t'as
you
mis
wanted?
des années et des années à
Was
faire
it
ton
worth
jeu, mais tu me
ruining
dis
the
ensuite que
entire
t'as pas
story
fini
I'd
ta
written out
salle.
specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Ouais, je veux bien.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Dirais-tu que le jeu a bénéficié de l'ajout de plusieurs choix? Ouais.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door?
En engageant des
It's
bêta-testeurs.
instinct mostly, a calling in your gut.
Des alpha
I really
testeurs.
couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Ah! The Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard. Hey, cool. Great. Great. Je peux retourner du coup?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Ah.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Faut que je fasse ça pendant 4 heures. D'accord, c'est parti pour 4 heures de live. Mais c'est tellement marrant de voir un bébé se faire cramer la gueule.
You heartless bastard.
Bah oui.
Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
Bah,
because if
un
it's
peu
the
des
latter,
deux.
well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Je te laisse me donner un autre niveau de ton jeu à faire. Narrateur de Stanley Parable. Oh, yaba, en tout cas, ça fatigue ce jeu. What?
Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough?
C'est cool.
Tell me that, Stanley.
Ouais, mais ça me va. Je peux pas sauter.
Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house.
Où ça?
This will go here. No, here. And then...
Construis une maison en terre, toi?
Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off...
C'est ça ta maison?
It's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy.
C'est moche.
But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
Bon, d'accord.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
Je suis pas venu là pour jouer à Minecraft.
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
J'ai pas de lumière.
Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Yeah. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
Ouais, new game, parce que là, je vois rien. Merci. On va passer tous les jeux vidéo, là. Ah.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
C'est Portal, ça? What? Il faut pas... Oh. Merde, je peux plus revenir. Oula. Est-ce que j'ai réussi à faire bugger Stanley Parable? Ah merde, je sais pas comment j'ai fait. Bref. Et... Hop.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte.
C'est ça, c'est Portal. Ah cool, je peux le choper.
Genius.
Ouais, du génie, hein, c'est fou.
No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these.
D'accord. Mais j'étais bien moi dans Portal. C'était un peu plus amusant que Minecraft d'ailleurs. Ah. D'accord. Il fait un peu noir. Il va faire tout noir. Je suis dans le néant. Ah non, c'est les bureaux. C'est les bureaux. Ah, on est revenu dans les bureaux. La lumière. 87. Ah, de retour dans mon bureau. Ouais. Vas-y, hop. Il a changé, mais bon. Ça mène nulle part, là. Ça ne mène nulle part. Quoi?
I wonder what he found. Ah. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now.
Je sais pas.
I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion.
Je pourrais casser les murs.
That is what I mean to this
voler.
Oh yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's
Là
no
où le tomber, je pourrais retourner
Once
en
this
haut,
ends, after it all comes to a close.
T'as pas mis assez de contrôle dans ton jeu, c'est tout.
The end will be here soon.
C'est pour ça qu'il
a
pas de sens.
I can wait.
Stanley, c'est un super-héros sans pouvoir. Il est rien. Voilà. T'as foiré ton jeu. End is never the end. Is never the end. Is rising. Bonjour, on se retrouve dans le bureau.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
Les discours changent un peu.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his
dans
left.
Cette porte-là, on n'est pas allé. Après le reste, je crois qu'on a
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
C'est un air de déjà vu, de déjà vécu. Putain, j'aime pas aller dans le sous-sol. Généralement, c'est signe de fin du jeu. De manière.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track.
C'est bien le
so now, in order to get back, he needed to go from here. It's left.
D'accord, donc faut pas que j'aille à gauche. C'est ça. Ah ben non, je peux. Pas. Bon bah je suis obligé d'aller à gauche.
Oh no. Oh! No, it's to the right. My mistake.
Espèce de connard. Ne ferme pas les portes.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Il reste qu'une porte là, ça forcément... Ah non, il y en a d'autres. Okay.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down,
droite,
left,
gauche, en
right.
bas,
Yep,
gauche,
yep.
droite.
Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
D'accord. Je peux prendre la voiture? Non. C'est quand qu'il y a des zombies? Oh, on se retrouve là.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick,
no,
Stanley,
no.
Close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to Oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Non, espèce de bâtard. Allez, bâtard.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bon voilà, j'ai fait un peu le tour.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then, it's an adventure. Come, Stanley, let's find the story.
Ça a l'air bien par là. Regarde. C'est quoi par... J'ai déjà vu ici. Des chaises. J'aime pas les portes. Putain. Oh!
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Non, je...
All of his co-workers were gone.
T'as pas le droit de redémarrer le jeu.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tu peux pas me faire ça. Si j'ai envie d'explorer, je dois explorer.
Okay, yep, it's worse.
Bah oui, c'est pire, voilà, tu vois.
Remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Oui, on a oublié une porte qui était fermée et qu'on pouvait ouvrir au cul. Tu vois, on peut pas les ouvrir. On ne peut pas. On ne peut pas. Pourtant, il ressemble. Ça ressemble plus à des bureaux là. Hein.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes.
Comment je fais pour tourner comme ça alors
No,
que...
wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Oh là 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 là. C'est le bordel ton aventure. Oh regarde. Oh, c'est tout crade.
Now this, well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place
plus,
at
je
all.
reconnais pas.
Is this the story?
J'ai l'impression d'être dans une ferme.
I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building.
Attends, et on est déjà allé dans Minecraft et dans Portal. Hein,
Do you remember, Stanley?
Pas plus que ça.
Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this?
Moi, je l'ai jamais
You
su.
win!
Ah, merci.
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job.
Merci, merci.
Oh no,
Non,
I don't
ça
feel
va pas?
right about this at all. We
Moi
both
aussi, je me
know
suis
you
dit,
didn't put in any
finir
actual work
enfermé
for
dans
that
une
win.
maison en bois
Some
et me dire
people
que
win
j'ai
fair
gagné,
and
ça,
square,
c'est drôle.
and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Pas encore. Oh là 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 là. Il me redémarre ce jeu à chaque fois. Ah c'est gentil. Il m'a mis une... C'est 427 à mon bureau. Il m'a mis une ligne.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Y'a quoi par là? Non, parce qu'il va redémarrer le jeu.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office, in fact, the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct?
Je suis pas sûr parce que ton squelette tu le contrôles pas bien. Hein.
Hang on.
Donc ça doit pas faire
That got a bit
partie.
weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that.
crois que tu veux t'inventer une vie en fait.
I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Ah, ça c'est une bonne idée pour une fois. Ça me donne envie de finir le jeu.
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
C'est une fougère. C'est une fougère, voilà tout. Pourquoi ça fait cling? Cling, cling, cling. Y'a un truc à casser ou quoi? Non? Non, y'a rien qu'à casser. Pourquoi ça fait cling? Cling, cling, cling. Hop. Ah, je vais regarder s'il y avait... Si, tout est branché, tout est bien branché, c'est bon. Oui. Hop.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Pourquoi? J'ai suivi. C'est quoi ce bruit de du bureau là?
You know what, Stanley? Oh! I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ouais, je voulais à 430 moi, mais bon.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything.
Ouais.
What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
C'est parti pour l'histoire de Golenwick.
Oh no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story.
Ah, je me suis trompé.
No lines or monitor rooms.
Attendez.
Just don't acknowledge it. We should be fine.
2 secondes. J'ai oublié de faire un truc. J'ai complètement oublié de faire un truc quand je suis allé sur... comment on fait? Le petit Google... je suis à la recherche de Twitch. Faut peut-être que je mette Stanley Parable en titre. C'est un peu tard mais bon. Twitch. Yep. Oh là 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 là. Comment ai-je pu oublier le plus important? Hop. Profil. Profile. On va profiler Baboon. Baboon. Alors, comment on fait? C'était quoi? C'était quoi le vieux truc là? Ah non, c'est bouinage sur Starboon. Je suis pas sur Starboon. C'est pour Starboon, t'es. Alors. Allora, modifier. C'est pas bon. Ce n'est point bon. C'est pas la bonne chose. Comment on fait? Voilà. Oh, je vais m'entendre en Google. Je suis à la recherche de Twitch. Faut peut-être que je mette Frenchy. Mais le Frenchy. Broadcast langage mode. Alors, non, c'est pas du bouinage.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Le meilleur processeur d'Intel est arrivé et il aide les PC à se réveiller instantanément, exactement comme vous. C'est bien, mais je peux me recoucher? Oh, je vous en prie.
La 6e génération de processeurs Intel Core, le meilleur processeur qu'Intel ait créé.
Comment ai-je pu oublier le plus important. On écrit le titre. Voilà. Hop. Don, hop. Don. Close. Profil. Voilà. Profile. On va profiler. Hop, ensuite, ça c'est fait, donc je peux quitter. Comment on fait? Voilà. Hop. On va pas rejoindre le club des ornithorynques. Voilà, c'est parti. On va reprendre le jeu. Youp. Voilà. Mais on a toujours la ligne jaune alors. Dis-moi.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important, we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
C'est quoi ça?
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending?
8 fois?
And we're supposed to restart the game eight times?
After a long time,
that's really how all this goes?
Narrateur est parti.
Determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Pourquoi tu t'intéresses à toi? C'est moi qu'on doit s'intéresser là. C'est moi qui suis coincé dans le jeu.
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey. Though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
C'est même plus le narrateur qui redémarre, c'est le jeu tout seul. Oui. Oh putain, il est quelle heure? 4h moins le quart. Putain, faut que j'aille au boulot dans 1 heure.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Donc il a tout oublié. Il faut redémarrer encore une fois.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
J'ai pas vu ce que je devais faire.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Je suis pas allé par là.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Tout à fait,
and for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, He knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Miaou, tu deviens fou, aide-moi. Viens.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ah, tout est devenu noir. Tu te rends compte? Bah oui. Bah si, comment on va faire?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Hein? C'est l'histoire d'une fille qui s'appelait Mariella.
Like any other. She arose, got dressed,
Quoi?
gathered her belongings,
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
D'accord. Donc là, j'ai pas d'explication.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Donc là, il a redémarré.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Tout à l'heure. Non, j'avais pas d'autre choix. Quand on était dans les salles là. Quand on était dans la salle de contrôle du machin. Ah si, à un moment vous pouvez dire oui ou non, bah vas-y on y va.
So he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
On va refaire le truc.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
C'est quoi qui arrête pas de faire? Est-ce que c'est le jeu?
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Non! Mais putain! Ouvre! T'as pas le droit de me faire ça, c'est déjà assez long comme jeu.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Pourquoi je suis allé par là? Ah. Merde, c'est bon. Allez, c'est parti, on descend, on va dire non quand on va devoir sauver le monde. Non, 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 on ne sauve pas le monde. Ah, j'ai faim. Ah, je suis fatigué.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Alors, encore un bouton?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Alors.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone.
C'est gentil.
Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Tu m'as rajouté une minute?
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door.
Non, j'en suis pas à ce point-là.
Anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble.
Je mourrai avec fierté.
This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world that...
Puisque c'est la seule fin possible.
But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Dans ce...
Take a look at the clock,
de...
That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your friend? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Ouch! La manette qui tremble. Arrête de trembler! Arrête! Il est 4 heures. Il va être temps d'arrêter. Je pense, parce que là on a redémarré plus de 8 fois. S'il disait qu'il restait plus qu'une fois à redémarrer avant qu'il se passe un truc. Là il se passe rien. Et j'ai envie de pisser. Il cause plus. Il ne cause plus.
Already this was uncomfortable. And Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Ça change toujours les dialogues. Je vais essayer de me suicider direct juste pour voir.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Parce que là, j'ai tout
Perhaps
fait,
he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire
sur des
it.
boutons.
And here it was, the lounge.
Est-ce que ça
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Bon.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very...
Comment ça recharge du coup là? Oh, ça reprend là. Ça ne mène à rien. Hop. Donc on va... Voilà, on va arrêter le Stanley Parable ici. On aura bien joué, hein. Hop. Tac tic tac touc. J'arrête le streaming here. Ici. Ah, j'étais dans le noir, non? Allez. Ciao, bon dimanche.